Hello everybody, I'm Catriona Morten, I'm a sensory motor psychotherapist, and today what I'd like to talk to you about is validation. How we can learn to validate ourselves instead of being totally dependent on validation from others. But before I jump into that, if you're enjoying these videos, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, because it really helps us get the message out to much more of you. So, validation. I think it's important to be honest that we all care to some degree about what people think of us. We want people to like us. We want people to appreciate the qualities that we appreciate in ourselves. In the same way that we do that for other people. We're social creatures. We're relational. We live in community with each other. And so it can't just be all about me, me, me. It's a relational thing. And especially with friendships, relationships, it's really, really important. But it's to the degree that we do that that can be difficult. The reason I'm talking about this today, and I'm doing a video about this, is because for a lot of my clients, most of my clients that come to see me, they have not been validated. It's been a real missing experience for them, and they're very, very dependent on what people think of them. And that's a minefield, because we can ask 10 people, 10 different opinions. Ask them a question, you'll get 10 different answers and opinions back. How do you get your solid validation from that? How do you get your sense of who you are? If your sense of who you are is about how much you're trying to please other people or be like other people or fit in to what you think other people want from you, then it's an external thing. There's no sense of knowing, of building my personality, myself, from the inside out, really knowing who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you important and special and interesting. It's a very, very rocky, precarious thing if we're totally dependent on it out here. And the reason that it develops, where that comes from, is yet again through our childhood experiences, through our experiences at school, just all the things that we've had growing up and to the point that we are in today. If the way that we felt and expressed ourselves, and children are really expressive, that's all they can really do because they don't have their brain formed yet and they don't have the narrative and the verbal ability to be able to express themselves. So they do that through feelings, through actions, through behaviours. If those things, when they've shown up, when we've behaved or reacted or been emotional, if they have been dismissed, if we've been told not to be so stupid, or for goodness sake, or you're annoying, or just ignored, not seen, or we've been criticised, humiliated, berated, for having that kind of response, then validation is meeting somebody in that moment, really validating how they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and allowing it. Obviously helping settle things, but if that initial validation, if you've fallen over and it's like you're crying and it's hard, if the carer comes along and goes, oh no, you've fallen over, oh it's hurt, even if they're thinking, oh God, it's no big deal, it's not really that big, validating in that moment is really important. Somebody gets us, they get what's going on for us, they get how we feel. And then they can help us, come out of it and feel different and not be scared or, ease the pain a little bit. And it's a really important thing. So many of my clients have no sense of themselves. They don't trust themselves. They dislike themselves. They believe all kinds of things about themselves based on what's actually happened. And it can often be completely different to what other people think of them. It's like, no, you're not X, Y, or Z. I find you, something else completely different. The problem with being really reliant on that validation is that we're open to manipulation, we have no real sense of who we are and no real confidence in our ability to do things on our own or with others. And we don't have that real solid sense of, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. If we're too reliant on other people for that, it's a movable, shakeable, not very solid foundation that we're standing on. We're also giving somebody a really high value, and we're having no value for ourselves. We care about what they think about. We're trying to impress, we're trying to second guess what people are wanting from ourselves. How can we really know what's really accurate and true from us? How can we really learn to trust that? Validation is a felt sense thing. We feel validated. We don't think validation. It's an experience that we have. And it's really important when people come to see me that as they're talking about their week or the things that have happened to them or something that's happened, it's really important that I'm the one that's noticing what the body's doing, how it's responding, how it's reacting, so I can get them to notice it. And instead of dismissing it, being critical of it, validating it in that moment, noticing. How are you breathing in this moment? Don't try and change it. Just notice. How is your body breathing right now? It doesn't matter what you notice about it. Oh, it's a bit small, it's a bit shallow, it's a bit constricted. Make that important. Validate it in that moment. It's keeping you alive. It's doing a really good job. Validate it. That's the way my body's breathing right in the moment. It will change throughout the day as you're doing different things. It won't stay like that. But if you know that you've not had that sense of validation, then one, when I say to people, when they either first come to me or we're working through things, whatever shows up is welcome. Because there's a reason it's showing up, whether it's resistance, whether it's anger, whether it's really frightened parts that are cowering away, whatever it is, whether it's yawning, whatever's showing up, we validate it in that moment. We try and give that present moment experience because we know that that's been a missing experience from the past. And often what people say to me is, especially if it's been like a first session, it's like, you really got me. I really felt understood and you've helped me make sense of what's happening. We need the body to do that. If we're going to feel validated, then we have to be able to feel. We have to be not dismissive of what's happening. We've got to give this importance. If we're following our breath and saying, I'm just going to follow my breath, 5 breaths in and out, see what parts of my body are moving, see how slow, how deep, whatever it is. I'm going to try and get a sense of how my body's breathing in this moment. I'm going to validate it and say it's absolutely fine to be breathing like that in this moment. And I'm going to allow it and I'm going to make it important. And we can take those words in and say, this is the way I'm breathing at the moment and it's important. It's my breath. It's important. Give it permission to be however it wants to be. When we get that sense internally, when we can start to do that for ourselves, one, we can read what our body's telling us, and that's a much, much more kind of robust, reliable sense of what's actually happening in the moment. We can learn to trust it because the body can only react. It can't make things up. Whatever's happening, it will have a reaction. When we can learn to be a bit more guided by that, trust it, notice it, make it important, it automatically makes us a lot less reliant on what's going on externally, what people are expecting of us. If we know that we have a tendency to do that in the most hyper-vigilant way, it's exhausting. When we can notice that we're really kind of noticing and taking note of what people are doing, it's like, there's my external validator at work again. Bring awareness to yourself. Make what's happening with you in this moment. Even if it's your bum on the seat, your feet on the floor, the way that your body's breathing, the way your shoulders feel, make it about you. Because when you can stop giving that whole value system there, giving people all the power, and take some of it back yourself, value yourself, then you've got a much more solid sense of who you are. Not so reliant on what's happening out here, It gives you confidence. You can only put a boundary in place when you know what's important to you, when you know what you want to kind of protect, validate the point that you want to make, the things that you don't want to keep doing. You've got to know yourself and be able to connect with yourself, receive the messages that your body's telling you. It's way more effective than just relying on what you think about things. Those thoughts can change over time. Our recollection of things that have happened, they change over time. They get muddled and jumbled in with other things. And, you know, if you have 3 people that have been through a similar thing, over time, everybody's recollection will change slightly. This is always reliable. It will always just react in a way that is genuine, consistent. When you learn to notice it and read it, it's easily readable. And it's a much better barometer. And the important thing to remember is that when we've had, especially when it's been parenting, when that's the way that it's been done to us, you know, we want to please our parents, we want to please our carers, we want to, you know, be able to maintain that attachment bond. Then they're always right and we're always wrong. And so we just automatically, without even knowing we're doing it, we parent ourselves in the same way. And I know I've said this often in other videos, but it does apply to just about everything. Whatever has been done to us externally, we'll do it internally. We will take on the job of the dismisser, the criticiser, telling ourselves that we're stupid to believe those things. That's invalidating. It's invalidating from the inside out. When we can be much more solid in ourselves, instead of if you're in company and you're constantly watching, what are people laughing at? What are they doing? How are they reacting to that? Do I then react in the same way because I'm keeping in with everybody else, because I really don't know myself very well? That's a really precarious thing. And you're always just one little step behind, and it's not genuine coming from you. And if it's not genuine coming from you, you know, if you're laughing at things just because everybody else is laughing, you're not going to come away and go, I had a brilliant time. Because you haven't really had the brilliant time. There's loads of things that I find hilariously funny that other people don't. But if I'm spending all my time doing things that other people like and not what I like, I'm not going to be having a good time. They can enjoy what they like, I can do that. But if I really want to have that real sense of me and what I enjoy, what's important to me, I've got to know what that is. And I've got to know because my body's telling me, not because of what I'm thinking. That narrative will change over time. A lot of people who have had very little validation and a very little sense of themselves, they will reinvent themselves a lot of times. Their styles will change, even their personality will change, because it's being guided by what's out there. I want to be like that, instead of really understanding and knowing what makes you tick, what things really resonate with you. But you've got to be able to notice it and feel it. Wake the connection up with your body so you can really notice what it's telling you. Just one other thing, when we're doing the kind of noticing, try not to name things, because that's very much guided by your head, and your head doesn't actually know the best thing for your body. So if you notice something, instead of giving it a name, you know, what are you feeling in your chest? Oh, it's anxious. Okay, if we put that word to one side, what's the mechanical breathing like? And try to just make it the experience. Validation is a felt sense. What is my experience of this breath in this moment? Not what I'm going to call it and name it, because we're missing a huge piece underneath that. Just notice the quality of it. Try not to even describe it. Try and shut your head off completely if you're a big kind of namer of things. And just be with the physical sense of that in and out of your breath, noticing which parts of your body are actually moving with it. You're just joining in with it in that present moment. You're not naming it, you're not telling it should be anything differently, keeping all thoughts of what it is out. The body will feel like you're there, you're validating it, not judging it. And it really helps increase that connection between your head and your body. We want this to have a much bigger value than what other people are thinking and telling us about ourselves. And, you know, often those opinions can be quite unsolicited. When we have a really good, strong sense of ourselves, we've got natural boundaries around that and a natural confidence that others can just sense. And it's not about an arrogance or a selfishness, it's just about a solid sense of knowing. So that's why those things, those present moment experiences and validation is so important, because when it's missing, it makes us very, very vulnerable. So I hope that helps make sense of things for you. I hope that resonates. And I hope it just helps start you on that kind of thinking and curiosity of, where do I get my validation from? How much do other people's opinions really matter to me? You know, it's on a bit of a scale, a continuum. If they matter massively, they're the most important things, then we might just want to kind of start looking at that a bit more. Maybe I could bring some of that power back to me, because that would be a whole lot safer. So if you've enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Okay, bye.